It's November 1918, and the Social Democrats have just come to power in the German Revolution. They believe women should be treated more equally than they currently are, and therefore, as one of their very first moves, they give women both the right to vote and the right to stand in elections. It's 1 week into the new republic, and a lot has already changed for women. So what else changes? 1918 to 1933. Women in the Weimar Republic, work and politics. The new German Constitution in 1919 strengthens women's legal rights significantly. As well as their new voting rights, Article 109 of the new Constitution states that women have equal rights with men, and Article 119 says marriage is an equal partnership. With this newfound power, women waste no time. In the 1919 National Assembly elections, across the 34 electoral districts where separate data is available, 82.3% of eligible women cast their vote, and 9.6% of the people who get elected are also women. Interesting also is that Weimar women tend to vote in a way which may seem to us as against their own interests, to the right, or specifically for parties that uphold Christian values, like the DNVP and the Centre Party. It is, however, no steady road to improvement. By July 1932, only 6.2% of Reichstag seats are held by women. The picture is more complicated though. If you remove the Nazis' share of the seats, because they don't allow women as representatives, they have 10.1%, having been at 8.3% after the 1930 elections. Essentially, it fluctuates a lot. Moreover, women often get pushed to more traditionally feminine areas within politics. For example, when they're on committees, these tend to be focused on socio-cultural topics like youth, education, and social welfare. There are also massive changes for women in the workplace. As so many men were away fighting during World War I, more women had moved into paid work to fill the empty positions. However, after the war, women's employment quickly falls again. Between February and May 1919, the female employment level actually drops below what it had been just before the start of the war in June 1914. It does eventually go back up to slightly more than the pre-war level. In 1907, 30.5% of women had been working. By 1925, this is at 35.6%, a small increase. And by 1933, this has fallen again slightly to 34.2%. After the war, in many ways, life gradually begins to return to how it was before for women. Many jobs are often viewed by women as a way to sustain themselves until their ultimate goal, marriage. Moreover, between 1925 and 1933, 70% of married women are housewives, and the two main categories of work which women dominate are family helper and domestic servant. Despite Article 109 saying they're supposed to be treated equally at work, this doesn't happen. Women in white-collar, i.e. office and retail jobs, get paid an average of 33% less than their male colleagues. Women are also generally expected to give up work once they get married. The status of female workers in general remains extremely low, with them being the first to be fired during economic downturns, and before the Great Depression, they're also more likely to be on unemployment benefits than men. There are, however, some lasting changes to how women are employed. What does change are the areas in which women are employed. Women choose to leave their traditional areas of employment, agriculture and domestic service, and instead take up manual work in industry, and also increasingly in white-collar work. The growth in the retail and service sectors produces lots of part-time jobs in shops and offices, which women fill, and they offer some women a chance for an amount of social mobility. And in some of the more liberal professions, like medicine and education, women make considerable progress. For instance, in 1914, there had been 196 female doctors, but by 1925, there are 2,572, and by 1933, there are 4,367. They do not leave agriculture and domestic service entirely, though. The number of women in these industries has dropped by 20% in 1925 compared with 1907, but they still account for more than half of the female workforce. Less than a fifth of all working women are in industrial jobs. In other professions, women struggle to make ground. By 1933, there are only 251 female lawyers, 1.3%, and 36, 0.4%, female judges in the whole of Germany. A survey in 1930 notes that although in theory women can go into a career in the judiciary, in practice it is closed. To be a state prosecutor or judge, jobs appointed by the state, this requires goodwill and a liberal outlook on the part of an individual state. By 1930, no women have been appointed as a public prosecutor in Prussia, and even in 1932, women are excluded from a career in the judiciary in Bavaria. Not only that, but what change does happen often stirs up negativity, sexism, and outright misogyny, a contempt for women. One particularly big opponent being the powerful male-dominated trade unions, who aren't fans of female workers and perceive their presence as having a negative effect on wages. They particularly don't like double earners, married couples where the woman has a job as well as her husband, meaning that between them they take home 2 wages, allegedly selfishly keeping unemployed men out of a job, even if often these married women are working because they can't afford not to, despite the second wage. Women who attempt to rise within their profession are often branded as unfeminine and aggressive. To put it bluntly, for all the progress, sexism and outright misogyny are still very plain to see in Weimar Germany, and in many areas, even on the rise. Women are often demonized in both pop and high culture, and by all sides of the political spectrum, left, right, and in the middle. They are somehow creatively blamed for just about everything supposedly wrong with society. Rampant consumerism, sexual excess, mass unemployment. There's even an argument that accuses women of prolonging the war. Their refusal to have more children, i.e. the falling birth rate, is seen as destabilising society. They supposedly got all the protection of being at home during the war, and now they can't even do the one thing they're supposed to, repopulate the country. Single women under 30 get dubbed the surplus 2 million, particularly bad as they don't have a husband to control them. There are even attempts to blame women for the rise of the Nazis because their greater emotional sensitivity makes them more receptive to radicalism. So, whilst legal rights are certainly a significant step forward for women, outside of this, progress remains very limited and produces even more backlash. There is a significant growth in misogyny. 1918 to 1933. Women in the Weimar Republic. Work and politics. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and tell your friends. If you would like updates on when new videos are coming and the occasional extra tidbit, then you can follow me on Instagram and on Blue Sky. Links in the description. I have also been uploading shorter clips from videos to TikTok in case you would like to follow me there. Finally, if you like what I do enough and are able to support the channel financially, then you can find me on Patreon, link in the description again. Any and all support is very much appreciated. Bye!